Hello everybody and welcome to another StarCraft 2 cast with Imperator Z. I just love saying my name, Imperator Z. Does not it roll off the tongue? Does not it? In any case, we have a game between a Zerg on the lower left side of the map and a Terran on the lower right hand corner. I love Luci. I don't think so, because I don't love Terrans. I never do, I'm more of a Xenophile. I love them, my Zergies. I love them. It'll change since I've started playing random, and I've been playing Terran a bit more lately. And they are fun to play, I have to admit. This replay has been sent in by the fans. At least by one fan. I don't think multiple people have sent it in. No, I don't get that many replays, really. Actually, I get like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 every week. Unless somebody just decides to send all of the replays in or something. And yeah, I think this one was sent in by Callz, though I'm not really sure. But the email said ZvT, and people usually put their own race first, so there you go. We have lots of scouting going on, and as you can see, there is lots of scouting and lots of production, because this replay has come forth. It has descended upon us from the lofty heights of Diamond League, where people such as me can only dream of descending from. To be quite honest, I only just descended from Platinum League to Gold League. I know it sounds horrible. It is kind of horrible, but that sort of thing's gonna happen if you start playing random. I don't think I'm gonna drop below silver though. I am quite even with gold level players, so at least I have that, right? For now we have production going on. Very good. And was it an early hatch? An early hatch indeed. Always a good thing to do against those pesky Terrans with their pesky units that can't attack you all that early unless they're going for a sort of 2 racks push, and however annoying that might be as Zerg, it can put the Terran behind, and they don't want to do it per se. We have the pool coming up for the Zerg, the extractor. Terran's taken his gas relatively early. This is one of those things I hate about playing as Terran. The barracks right here, it can't really, yeah, it has to lift off to be able to build this add-on. It's just tiny annoyance, but I think on this side of the map you wouldn't have to do that. At least I'm not sure, maybe. But it makes Terran for to be a kind of asymmetrical race where you get a tiny advantage depending on spawning position, and you just have to rethink your building positioning a bit depending on where you are for every map, which is quite annoying. We have a little bit of army for our Terran, a tiny little marine facing the Zerg army down all alone. Though there is no Zerg army yet, so he will be fine. APM wise, our Terran is pulling ahead. Wow, how is he doing this? So, okay, just when I decide to check, he stops having high APM. That's just my luck, isn't it? I find that Terrans will usually, in the beginning of the game, have higher APM, because they can do the little switcheroo thing, where they just keep pushing buttons, 1 2 1 2 1 2, or something, depending on how you hotkey it. So just to see if they're producing sort of a memory aid, it's very useful. I haven't started doing it consistently yet, and that's one of those things keeping me back. But it's definitely not keeping Luci back. He's doing fine. He's going out at 6 minutes with 2 Hellions, partly to scout, partly to roast scouting Zerglings. That poor Zergling just walked up there and got roasted. Looked like professional level timing, really. Probably wasn't, probably was just luck, but then luck doesn't exist, does it? At least if you're a scientist. Lots of Zerglings being roasted, though those Hellions have taken more damage than they probably should have, in all honesty. Units lost tab, quite even. Looks like the Zerg had a cancel at some point. I missed that. I'm sorry about that. I think it was an extractor or something. Maybe he did a trick, a little tricky thing. We won't know. We won't know. Lots of Zerglings being roasted, as always. Hellions, the bane of Zergs. The banelings are the bane of Hellions, so that is okay. It's kind of a weird food chain. The Hellions, they beat the Zerglings, and they beat the banelings, but once the banelings get speed, Hellions are in quite a lot of danger and usually die unless they are microed perfectly. So it sort of switches around and the Zerglings become the aggressor. It's quite a fun dynamic. We have an expansion coming up for Luci. Orbital command already done. Very good. Here you can see diamond level macro at work. His money is extremely low. Her money is extremely low, probably. Luci. Yeah. Probably her. Let's call her her. No, I'll forget about calling her her, because I will forget calling her her. There we go. Lots of cool positioning stuff going on that I am never going to understand. Zerglings pulling back. Actually, I do understand that. It's quite clever. It's quite clever. So the Hellions would have had to walk up here, and then the Zerglings could have surrounded and be spine crawlered and everything. That's cool. That's cool. But the Hellions, not stupid enough to fall into the trap. Don't get killed. And we have one of those famous 9-10 minute pushes coming. Lots of Hellions, well, 4 Hellions, stimmed Marines and siege tanks with siege. This is gonna be very tough for the Zerg to hold off, even though it is off 2 base. And it does have to do damage. It probably will do damage. All the Zerglings being pulled away, all the Zerglings being pulled away by these Hellions, while the main attack force runs in. 2 spine crawlers doing a lot of damage. They have been smartly positioned. Meanwhile, the Zerglings have taken care of the Hellions, are now streaming in, killing almost all the Marines, and taking care of the tanks, because the tanks can't attack what's at their base. If there's no Marines to take care of what is at the base, they die. This was a very successful defend for our Zerg, and he's now more than 10 workers ahead. Unbelievably cool. I wish I could do these sort of things as Zerg. It was a very good push from the Terran. I don't see much he was doing wrong. Even now you see that the Zerg's macro is lagging behind so much, but since he has so many drones, he's okay. He's okay. He's probably not been hitting his lava injects as much as he could have. Yeah, more than 50 energy on this queen and more than... well, actually, wait, wow, more than 30 on this one. He has been sort of neglecting his larva injects, probably result of microing for the Hellions. Meanwhile, the Terran is in a horrible position. Looking at army size, he's not ahead of the Zerg, even though the Zerg's ahead in worker count. Actually, the Zerg's been slacking off. I'll take it back. The Zerg has been slacking off. Now the Terran is ahead economy-wise because of mules. Oh, those mules. Zerg is trying to catch back up. Callz, come on, you can do more than 7 drones. You can do 7 each hatchery. That would definitely have been a possibility, because you killed this gigantic push, so you wouldn't have had to be afraid of anything, and you could have sort of waited with the units, I would say, because look at this. I think this is a bit overkill. You probably shouldn't morph the banelings right now. The smartest thing to do would be to place a Zergling in front of the Terran base. Meanwhile, I have to say I'm not doing this sort of thing, but I don't have the APM for it. I have to concentrate on macro, so I can't do this thing. But he should have positioned the Zergling here, just to find out that this, not just to find out that this push is coming, but also when this push is coming, he could have then transformed all the lings he needed into mainlings, and would have had them when he needed them instead of way too early, and he could have spent the money before on droning up. But still, he looks to be very even this time. Wow. This Terran is a beast, and macro, he's been catching up mad. You see all these resources in the resource counting tab? that's a very bad thing for our Zerg, because it means that all the advantage he had before, or pretty much all of it, is gone. There is a third base going up in a sort of sneaky position, but ow, 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 the pain, the pain. This was a bad engagement for the Zerg. It could have gone a lot better, but he did hold off, and now both players are at 3 bases, and I would have to say it's the Zerg's advantage right now. Looking at worker count, the Terran is ahead, but this base is very difficult to defend for Terran, while the Zerg can just sort of put spine crawlers and maybe even spore crawlers up here. But this is just so vulnerable to Zergling run-bys. Only the Zergling run-by didn't get microed and died. So there, you see that tiny mistakes can make a lot of difference. This should be a planetary fortress. Yes, I guessed right. And here is the drone, the worker transfer. I guess this base is sort of close to being mined out. Here we see a supply drop, unexpectedly, of our beast macro Terran. Wow, he has done many supply drops. I guess he's not that beast, because I was so impressed that he keeps all his money low as this, even though he's that many workers. But he uses so few mules. He uses very few mules, because if these had been mules, he'd be more ahead if he'd been able to make use of the resources. You see the Zerg's resource tab, meanwhile, it's climbing at an alarming rate. We're almost at we are over 2,500. That's like half of 5,000. Yes, even liberal arts majors do know that much math. Half of 3,000 money. Oh. Lava injects, please, please, please. And on 3 bases, you can actually afford a macro hatch. You can afford a macro hatch, a 4th hatch. Place it somewhere, probably at your natural, or maybe somewhere close. If there was a tank here, this would be the most annoying tank thing in the world, but as it stands right now, it's just relatively annoying. Still, you don't want the Terran to be on 3 bases, Mr. Zerg, while you are on 3 bases. This is gonna put you way behind. Look at the army tab. Our Zerg hasn't been macroing up. Neither okay, there we go. Ultralisks, that's what's taking him so long. Ultralisk transitions always leave a big giant gap where the Terran could attack. And luckily for our Zerg, he's just barely scraped by and got the Ultralisks out. So let's see what those little beasties do. Big beasties, actually. Oh, they just rip shreds into the Terran army. This is such a lovely sight for every Zerg player out there. The only question I have is, why were there so few Ultralisks? You had the money, you had Facebook money, according to Lag TV. You had like 5,000 resources banked, yet no. Some injects going off, making it seem like you have good macro if you look at the queens, but you don't. This queen's been sort of conscientiously injecting. She only lost 1 larva inject, really. This is gonna die, I'm not even gonna watch. And this queen here, oh, that's just the worst thing I've ever seen. I should really not judge you, sorry about that. And we have a spore crawler. I don't like this spore crawler because you don't really see anything cloaked coming in, and if there were, you could just morph an overseer. And against drops, it would probably drop. The drop would probably come in here, somewhere down there, or pretty much anywhere they want. But this spore crawler is not going to do much. We have 2 more bases coming up for our Zerg. He probably realized that the Terran was on 3 bases, and he didn't like that. The Terran push has been held off at the expense of 1 base, which is not as bad as it sounds, but as you can see, army size-wise, our Zerg is behind. It's been spending a lot of money on army, but it has been killed little by little. Another one of those most annoying things in the world. What are these migrating overlords doing? I think they heard the call of the wild. Supply blocking our friend Callz. But not to worry, not to worry. He has 1,000,000 Ultralisks, and the Ultralisks are gonna take care of things. The Ultralisks are kind of like your mother. You know, not the one from the your mom jokes, but your actual mother who's protecting you from harm. Don't they just look like your mother? Sexy little things, aren't they? And here we go, giant, huge marine AAA build army. And this is what you don't do, you don't leave the tanks to die. But really, I don't know what the Terran could have done, except maybe putting his stuff into the medivacs because the army can't shoot up. And Marines can actually kite the Ultralisks, which probably would have been a good idea by now. But our Terran seems to be hellbent on winning this game with his beast macro, which I am still very impressed by. We are at 22 minutes in the game and look at these resources, even if he hasn't been muling, with 66 SCVs on the field, 73 was before, I think some must have died, with 66 SCVs on the field, having these few resources while everything's mining and having this sort of income, that's amazing, that's quite amazing. I dare you guys to sort of equal that. But our Zerg has just had the chance to keep more bases than the Terran would have wanted him to have, and macro up and reproduce everything. The trust fund is now gone. The Zerg, at this point as Zerg I usually realize I don't have the money, but I don't build drones anymore. I don't know why, I feel like I have to make units now because it's late game, right? You don't make any more drones late game. But really, thinking of it like from an observer's perspective, I think our friend Callz should be making drones late game. Don't you guys think so? While the gas is high, he might even pull guys off gas. Though there's not that many minerals left, is there? Yeah. I think he was also transferring drones from his main and his natural as well. So that probably put a bit of a dent into the resource collection thing he was doing. These guys are still here. Is there a spire around somewhere? Because at this point with the Ultralisks out... right. This seems like a misclick. It happens, it happens. There was this one game where I accidentally built 2 Roach Warrens, and then I just said, oh screw it, and on 2 base I went relatively quick lair and just researched both upgrades at once and went burrow move roaches, and it was actually quite cool because it came so early, the other guy had no way of expecting it. So accidents, they can help, but pathogen glands and neural powers, yeah, battle, I don't care. Pathogen glands and neural parasite together at the same time, it's not only expensive as hell, it's also not very good, I think. There you go, Ultralisks destroying the Terran. He should have made some Banshees out of his starport, I think. Yes, Marauders are good, but these are coming way too late. Even though the Terran is very good at keeping up his production, he hasn't been building the right stuff, I would say. And he's not been defending as well. Well, he has been defending very well by attacking, I'll give him that. He's done quite well. But then the Zerg sort of went with these unexpected Ultralisks and somehow just barely managed to hold on, which is pretty much the best way you can hold on. It's sort of a distraction here. This is why you, once you reach the trust fund amount of money, you just build like 10 spine crawlers. Don't forget to rebuild the drones, of course, but build those 10 spine crawlers, or just make it 5 or even 3 maybe, but just make some spine crawlers. It's gonna help out a lot, believe me. These Zerglings are just waiting for the base. It's like home delivery service guys. They're gonna stand in the way of the landing. Not a battle. Somehow it's silly how the Terrans can remake these armies so quickly at this point, but then The Zergs are even better at it. There you go with the mad surround. Banelings crashing into the Marauders, which you don't want to happen, but if it happens, oh well, it's not as if Marauders don't die from them, they just take a lot longer. Marauders are taking care of the Ultralisks. Indeed, impressive. The Terran did lose this base, but then what was left in the base? 2000 gas and 140 minerals. This might be time for liftoff. Yeah, just barely made it before it went burning. Good reaction time. It's more difficult than you think, actually, lifting off the base. Sometimes there's an SCV building inside and you just don't expect it to be attacked. And so don't remember to cancel the SCV, and yeah. Little things can mess your game up really bad. On the minimap, this actually makes a sort of... Oh wait, it's not just on the minimap, it actually makes a heart shape. These are very lovely Terrans. I can't believe these guys are still here. I mean, it's not as if the Zerg doesn't know they're here, because he had 5 Overlords or something scout them out earlier. And die. But, yeah. Maybe he doesn't remember. Maybe he doesn't. Or maybe he just doesn't want to go air this game at all cost because it's a day 9 daily or something. Yeah, this is where you would really have liked these Mutalisks. Had this happened with a flood of Mutalisks nearby, oh dear boy, I would have loved to be that Zerg. Oh, evil drop. Using the terrain advantage, abusing the game. Which Terrans are good at. The Zerg decides he can't hold this off, and so just counterattacks. That's what Zergs are good at, counterattacking. So it seems like the main base of the Zerg is a goner. Oh no. Oh the pain. Oh the pain. More Banelings. I don't think the Banelings are gonna help much against this, I'm afraid. Too bad, too bad. Just loading your whole army up into the Medivacs was a really cool move. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why Zerg really love going Mutalisks in Zerg vs Terran, because this sort of thing would never happen, and they are very good against tanks. Probably the Mutalisks would have done it as well as the Ultralisks against those tanks, because those Ultralisks, they were so expensive you could have had maybe a 30 Mutaflock or something. With 30 Mutalisks. This was actually just a blind counter by the Terran to those imaginary Mutalisks. That never happened. Even so, Ultralisks, they are good. I'm not saying they're not. But don't rely on them this much. Especially if you have 2 infestation pits, you might want to help them out with infestors or something. Oh god, I didn't even think of that. He should have had infestors out. Fungal growth on this thing, like, it would take a while. It would take like 5 fungal growths, or maybe some fungal growths and some infested Terrans. But doing that would have crippled the Terran so bad. There are so many ways the Terran could have died, but then Ultralisks. We saw Ultralisks, we got to see Ultralisks, which really isn't that what StarCraft 2 is all about? I'd think so. Thanks for watching, everybody. This was a really fun game to cast. Lots of stuff going on. Broken mules lying around everywhere, like in every good Terran game. Good, really good macro from Luci. I love Luci. You are my new hero, dude. You are my new hero. I guess maybe it was Luci who sent in this video, because this replay, because yeah, people usually send in replays that they have won, isn't it so? And with this, what was that? With this image of the stop motion sort of Marauder shell, I'm gonna leave you guys. So if you like this video, please thumbs it up and subscribe to my channel, and that would be great. See you next time. Imperator Z signing out.